What's up guys, D2 here, and this is going to be a follow-up video to my guide on Florentino. Now we're going to learn a little bit more about him, and we're going to learn actually a better combo than the one I showed you in the first video. Now the impetus for this is a comment on my guide when I posted it to Reddit from Skeptic Dragonborn, and then a completely separate thread by Genius AF, who basically said the same exact thing, which is really huge, and that is that you can kind of animation cancel, in a way, the lunge and the triple threat into one fell swing. So let me just show you the combo that I showed in the first video. You go in, lunge, triple threat, lunge, triple threat, lunge. And what made it difficult was that you couldn't just move your joystick when you're lunging, or else see the triple threat, the second ability, is unavailable for a while. So to get around that, what you can do is use triple threat while you're lunging, and it actually goes through like so. So you can actually use the triple threat while you're lunging, and you don't have to worry about not having to move your joystick. You don't have to worry about shuffling through and not being able to use triple threat. It works like a charm, which changes the combo to something like this. It's actually identical to the combo, but I don't have to worry about not moving my joystick, and it's a lot smoother. I can kind of play around my opponent. And the reason why this is so huge is because in the midst of a battle, it's really hard to not move your joystick, and I'll show you why. If you're kind of sitting around right here, and you think you're in range and you just press the joystick, you'll use your passive, and actually there's a bug in the game in which I am never going to get my passive back up. If you use your passive on air, if you use your lunge on air, you never get it back up until you get a flower, or you enter combat again. Like, I have to physically enter combat and I leave, or else my sword will never turn red again. Right? It's going to turn red. There we go. Right, but you saw it earlier. It was way more than the 6 or so seconds that it normally takes to be considered out of combat. So that's huge, because you don't want to be sitting here and like randomly miss a lunge and be like, oh my god, now I have to reset everything. And also because you use your lunge when you could have just been spamming it into him. For instance, if I'm using my joystick, I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to use it until I'm in range, or it'll just go away. One of the two. Anyway, so it's really useful for that reason. So you can kind of spam it, and then once you get in, you start using your combo. And I messed up. Now, one thing that this allows for, and this comes from Skeptic Dragonborn, and he says, another thing I like to discuss is using S1 first always. I like to go in with passive, using triple threat, then shuffle, and only after shuffle has ended, auto-aim S1. Since the speed of the projectile is fast enough, it will land every time unless the user dash or flicker, which would make you miss your S1 from range anyway. Additionally, it progresses the triple threat into your knockup, making it easier to pick the flowers. I don't do this always, but I find some advantages in the following situation. Both teams engage, you look for a good flank. If you risk landing S1 from range, there's two possibilities. You land it so everything goes as planned, or you miss it and have to wait for 5 seconds, leaving your team in a numbers disadvantage. If my team is fully committed to a fight, I prefer to lunge to their carries, then kite back with triple threat. If they dash away from S1, I can still flicker away. This alleviates pressure from the focus of their carry, and if it lands, then it makes it easier for me to pick up the flowers after the knockup. What do you think of this strategy? And I think that's a really valid point. I was talking about going with the first ability every single time, going with Blossom, and part of that is safety, right? If you go in and then miss your Blossom, you're kind of screwed. But there are situations where your team is fighting and you really need to just be in the fight, and it's also really a lot easier to use your lunge on squishies and get that additional damage in, and at the very worst, scare them away. So even if you miss your Blossom, you're still going to have enough energy to use your second triple threat to knock them up, or just kind of vaguely be in the fight. So you're still going to be useful, and you're still going to have that dive onto the back line, because obviously an auto attack auto aims. So that's a very valid point by him, and this is the combo he mentions where he goes like this, then uses this and goes in, and then yada yada, and boom, lots and lots of damage. It's quite difficult, but once you get used to it, and once you get used to using your joystick a lot, it starts to become a bit of second nature. Here's Skeptic Dragonborn's combo done a little bit faster so you can see what it might look like in the game. Moving on, the second part that I want to talk about is the second half of Genius AF's thread, basically. The first part, he was just talking about the same thing that I just mentioned here. Towards the end, he says, his ultimate Gentleman's Duel also acts differently from other dashes. Simply put, it teleports Florentino right onto the first enemy in his range and dashes him forward if there are no heroes in range. The reason I said teleport is that he won't pick up flowers between him and his target. Now, he will pick up flowers if they're kind of on the way like this, but if there's a target on the other side, he will not. Which means that you can do the combo afterward and use all 4 flowers. And he also says there are 2 variations of Florentino's core combo. One is A2F, A2F, A2F. The other is 2AF, 2AF, 2AF. Now, he ends up saying that 2AF is easier to execute, and I agree, but I would go a step further to say that this is just dumb. It's like your animation canceling the wrong thing, and also you're not lunging toward them, so it makes it way harder. This seems like only something you can do in training, so I'm just going to go ahead and ignore that. I'm going to go ahead and say there's only one combo because the other one doesn't make any sense at all. But he does say the last thing is to incorporate the combo by using your 1, going through the blossom like this, and then doing the combo afterwards. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you head over to d2aov.com. The site is taking off. We got some great guest posts, guides on Dioma, guides on Murad, guides on Omen, as well as my own guides on the site. Make sure you go ahead and check it out. Thanks again.